Oh, guys, must be showtime. Welcome in to the BlueWhite Tailgate podcast. Gotta clean ourselves up here a little bit.
Clean yourself up.
Oh, man. It's completely a mess. It's going to be a whiteout. Mike Gross, the Gross Rational Product, and Frank Lanny of the York Daily Record. Obviously, guys, kind of influenced a little bit by recent developments going on at Penn State. That was gold medal flour, by the way, from the supermarket.
Which do not involve the football team. There's no reason to believe they do.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Which is always very good. Pablo Pledgeskapar, some things floating around.
I'm asking you to stop.
Blow Pa. Kevin Horn tweeted that one out. That was kind of good. I said that at work. I don't know what's worse, the ticket prices for the new things that came out for season ticket holders or the news. Maybe people are being driven to look for alternative streams of income with some of the West Side seating prices from
yes.
I don't think that was it, actually, but
probably not. There was different motivations.
Good call, Frank.
I believe.
Yeah. Hey, we were getting emails for 5 days ahead of Monday saying this was going down, and I'm thinking, well, no Penn State athletes, first of all, involved. Let's hope. But with the way the world is, I think we would have known about that somehow.
Yeah.
Days before this came out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
There you have it.
I'm surprised nothing's been, the lion's been painted a couple of times and vandalized. I'm just surprised there was nothing put on the Nittany Lion Shrine up in State College so far.
No, there's time. There's time for that. Yeah.
There's time. Where do you guys want to start? I want to get to like some season predictions today, offense and defense, maybe predictions, depth chart wise, players who stood out, got some great emails to preview the college football playoff. Where do you guys want to start?
Well, you want to start with the emails and plow through those quick?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Frank, you on board with that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go right to the email bag. Into the email bag. This one from John in State College. Guys, love listening to the podcast. Slot wide receiver battle. Who wins it? And also, how fast could they mesh all these guys together on the roster into a cohesive unit? So that's something Matt Campbell has kind of touched on a bunch. What do you guys think about John's first question there? The slot wide receiver battle. Who wins?
Well, my guess would be that Eldsickson, or I don't know how to say that guy's name. I don't know how you say his name. He's not going to be.
Mike, I do know how to say it. It's Eskelson. The D is silent.
Thank you, big guy. Yes. I don't think he's going to be the slot guy. The guy that is the man of the moment is Zay Robinson, who has decent size. I mean, my suspicion would be that maybe Chase Sowell would be the slot guy if those are going to be the three guys. That's really a guess. That's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think Zay Robinson could probably do all of them based on what we were hearing on Monday.
Yeah, I think I still think the top three receivers would be Chase Sowell, Brett Eskelson, and Kobe Howard. Okay, so how they arrange those three, let's see, right? I don't know if any of those three, I don't think any of those three are pure slot receivers per se, but
I agree.
But Zay Robinson, to Mike's point, Taylor Mauser, the offensive coordinator, mentioned how versatile Zay Robinson is. Not just that he's had a great scrimmage and a really good preseason camp, but that he can play multiple receiver positions. So maybe right now he's definitely, I think, 3B or number 4 as their receiver. And I think that's intriguing going forward because when's the last time Penn State's had a couple of guys at that position to talk about that are trending? No less, maybe 4 of them. So.
And Robinson really didn't do anything last year at Iowa State as a true freshman, but he kind of is, at least among the receivers for sure, he's kind of been the talk of the preseason so far. And according to Mauser on Monday, he was the guy in the scrimmage on Saturday.
Yeah.
He really lit it up.
you know, it's kind of funny how the wide receiver position has kind of evolved. You go back to like Calvin Johnson, and it was like always the big guys were like on the outside, and then you had like smaller guys like Deion Butler coming out. You knew was going to be a slot guy in the NFL, guys like Jordan Norwood and things like that. But now, 20 years later, you see guys putting bigger wide receivers in the slot. So the position's a little bit like transformed, where you're expected to do multiple things, whether you're at the XYZ position, whatever they coaching staffs want to call it. Another email, this one from a former emailer as well, from C in Westfield, formerly known as Hoboken. I know this guy. This was crazy C from last season. It's been too long, but I'm back and better than ever. Obviously thinks highly of himself. New season, same person. Question for you. You get to name 4 players, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, who are going to be the most overhyped and the most underhyped coming into this season. Glad to be back. Can't wait for kickoff. Kind of a good question, kind of a loaded question too.
Right. Go.
Wow. Overhyped. I mean, this is a team. I'm not sure how many guys are actually.
How many guys are even hyped? That was the problem with it. That was a struggle I had in this question. Yeah.
Well, see, I think that was a really good question for last year at this time, right? Because there was a lot of guys who were getting a lot of hype.
That would have been a whole podcast naming guys that are
right. This year, I mean, that's the story of this team, is that you don't know what to make of them because there's so many new guys. They don't have the star power, right? The preseason star power. So when you don't have that, I'm not sure who you say is overhyped. I mean, the guy that's the most talked about is Rocco Becht, and I think positively talked about. So can he be, I guess I would lean maybe mentioning him in the vein of, can he be who people really hope he can be, right? Can he truly be the leader that makes the big plays like they keep talking about at the most important times down the stretch, game-winning drives? Can he really be another Trace McSorley type of guy like they're talking about, like they're comparing him to? Or at least, I don't want to say Matt Campbell's comparing him to Trace McSorley, but do you know what I mean? The measurables, the style of play. He would be the one guy that I would probably lean into about that. And I don't even mean it as any disrespect, because none of us have really seen him. We've never seen him play in person. So, I mean,
the guy that came to my mind, this is going to make Andrew mad, but the guy that came to my mind, just because we haven't seen him play, we all think this guy's going to be, we like the way he talks and he seems like a stud, but we just have not seen him play college football, and that's Cooper Cousins.
Don't say.
Yeah, it's Cooper Cousins. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that an offensive guard is ever overhyped, but I think there's sort of an assumption that this guy is a team leader. He's going to be a terrific player, and he just hasn't. There's nothing. There's no tape. There's no tape for it.
Yeah,
folks,
I'd go with that. Go with that.
Mike is on now my list. So, folks listening, if Mike suddenly disappears from the podcast for 2 weeks, give him my number, give him the location. I should be prime suspect number 1 with that pick. No, those are all good because we hype Cooper Cousins. We think he should be great. Yeah, I was gonna go with in the vein of Frank, like none of the overhyped guys that I'm gonna say it's any sign of disrespect. I was going to say Rapp. There's no way Rapp could fulfill, like he's the one. He's the one guy that people know coming back from last year, kind of on offense, that's a skilled position. And he's playing with 2 other good guys, the best blocking tight end in the country, and then also Ben Brahmer. So people are going to look at his numbers and be like, well, what's he done? Like he's going to contribute a massive amount like that you can't actually see. So people, the uninformed, are going to be like, well, Andrew Rapp's overhyped. Again, that's not a disrespect thing. I know Zion Tracy's getting a lot of love and things like that. Marcus Neal, I think, is kind of like underhyped, but can he live up to the expectations? And I say underhyped because I don't think the fan base knows about him.
No, I would say every one of those Iowa State guys, with the exception of Becht, is underhyped because they're from Iowa State.
Yep.
So some of them actually had pretty good credentials, but again, it's in the Big 12, and I don't think Penn State fans know them. I don't think the national people don't know these guys, and we don't know them. I mean, I like what their resumes speak to, but how does that work when you're coming together at Penn State in the Big Ten? I mean, and we could go through a bunch of them. I mean, like one guy in particular is Jeremiah Cooper, who's a safety who had a bunch of accolades, but then he was also injured last year. He's back, supposed coming back, ready for the beginning of the season. He's the type of player I think could be potentially terrific for them, but when you haven't seen him play, I kind of underhyped, overhyped. I mean, to me, it's all wait and see. They're arguably the most wait and see team in the country right now.
The one guy that I would put potentially in the underhyped category, just because it doesn't seem like we've heard much talk about him, is Darius Dixon. Who I think he's the one guy who, based on what I know, he's the one guy that they could put out on an island and say, you cover that guy, as a corner. And that's a really valuable commodity. To me, he would be the number one candidate for that, based on what I know. And he was coming at the end of the year, late last year, and it doesn't seem like we're hearing a lot about him. And if you're looking at guys who could potentially be like an all-conference guy, he might be one of half a dozen that you would potentially say that about.
I would think Penn State, in a way, is a bunch of Darius Dixons potentially, because it's guys who have potential, who did things other places, but that's why Penn State's ceiling, I think, is actually pretty high, but we just don't know what it means. Like we think Darius Dixon he has everything to be great. But until he actually is a starter and has to go out there every week and be dependent on and stay healthy,
that's asking a lot. That's a lot.
We don't know.
From Jake in Palmyra, signed to Jake from State Farm. If you had to choose between watching a poorly coached team full of superstars, I know where he's going with it. I knew where he was going as soon as I started reading this when I got it. Or a well-coached team full of 3-star recruits, which would you pick and why? Hands down for me, I'm taking the latter. I know Jimmy Johnson, it's all about the Jimmy and the Joes, but I never thought Joe Paterno really had a team of superstars, and the guy won a lot of football games. I think
the Kerry Collins bunch had some superstars.
You could make the 94 teams in. You could make a case that when Joe had superstars, his teams kind of underperformed. I would hear that argument because the 90s, I think Penn State should have been better than what they are. 1999, looking at you, square in the face. That was a team full of a bunch of superstars.
That's fair.
So I'll take the latter. 3-star recruits. Give me Paul Posluszny's, Sean Lee's all day.
Well, here's the thing about this question. If it's evident that they're well coached, then they're probably not getting their butts kicked. They're not going 2-10 if they're and making it evident that they're well coached. So they must be having some success on the field. That's kind of the premise of the question. And given that premise, 100%, I'd rather see the well coached bunch of 3-star.
Of course, no question, no debate on that one to me.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have seen practice. We're going to talk about some impressions at practice. Both of you guys were up on Monday. From signed Rick in the Netherlands, but the email didn't match up. So we're just going to go Rick in the Netherlands. Hey guys, now that we have real football to talk about as camp is in full swing, what are the biggest position battles that you guys have seen so far on each side of the ball? So just give us, Frank, you go first. You've seen practice a couple times. What is the biggest position battle that you've seen so far at camp?
I mean, one of them is defensive end, but here's the thing. Some of these position battles are also rotational positions too, where I'm not sure if it matters a ton who is actually the first guy out there. If you're going with a rotation, meaning on the defensive line, for example, I picked defensive end because we just have no idea. There's no proven pass rushers coming back. So who are your starters? Is it the guy who's coming back from injury? Max Granville. Is the young guy Yvonne Kamaju a starter? Is it the multifaceted transfer, older, bigger guy from Iowa State, Ike? Is it, I mean, there's a bunch of guys, and I don't know who's going to be the starter, but I'm not sure in the end maybe how much it matters. I think wide receiver is a good position battle as well between the guys we already mentioned. I mean, we mentioned 4. I think there's 5 or 6 guys that have to figure themselves out. And running back. I would say running back lastly too, because I think there's an impression that Caleb Henson, he's going to start, right? But is he truly the best guy in the room? And right now he's banged up and he wasn't practicing. So I keep your eye on Quentin Martin. He's the most versatile running back in the room. What does that mean though for the position battle? I think he plays a lot, but I don't know where that goes as far as like starter.
I think there are 2 spots where they kind of have 3 guys for 2 spots, or 3 guys for 2 main roles. And one of them is running back, what Frank just said. I think that's exactly right. One of those 3 guys is probably not going to play that much, and the other 2, assuming they're healthy, are going to play a lot. The other one is offensive tackle, where you have Malachi Goodman and Donko, and then it seems like Garrett Sexton continues to be a factor there. And I think the coaches, if you could inject him with truth serum, would probably say, we hope that Goodman develops enough that his gargantuan talent comes to the fore and he's the guy. But I think that's a little bit up in the air.
Yeah, and let me. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm calling him Caleb Henson. Are you kidding me? It's Carson Hansen, the running back. He's the most proven guy, and I think that's one of the things with this team is there's not a lot of guys that have done proven themselves for full seasons, maybe coming in like him, and I think that's why he gets the nod. But I think Malachi Goodman, like you mentioned, Mike, I think he may be arguably the most intriguing guy on the offense, because what can that man do with his ability, but as basically a first-time player?
And they're thinking, apparently the position he's most likely to play is left tackle,
Most important
in pass protection and all of that. Yep.
It's funny, like the way you said it is almost like perfectly encapsulate these position battles. It's not like it's win or go home for some of these guys for one thing. It's 3 guys for 2, and that third guy is going to have a role in some way. Like Quentin Martin, the way they're talking about, he's going to have a role in some way. It just might not be, the 1B spot, whether it's kick returner or what. I think he's going to factor in. The way Campbell was talking about Peoples, was that 6 days ago, just stepping up and blocking in pass protection. And James Peoples is a small guy for a football tailback. And I'm very high on Peoples. I thought, he could be. I said that, I remember when he first came over, I thought maybe this could be the starter. But along the defensive line, there's intriguing matchups there, like Siale Tapaki. I need kind of Mark Woganwich to come here and give me that pronunciation again.
Yeah, he did a beautiful job.
Phenomenal job with the defensive guys. Keanu Williams, Armstrong up there. Those are guys, I mean, they're going to rotate. So it's basically
that's right.
To be in the top 2 and who's going to come in the third series of the game.
I think that's less acute. That's a good example, but that's a little bit less acute, I guess, than the other ones, because you know that all 3 of those guys are going to play, and you want to rotate at that position.
Yeah. And talking to Ryan Clanton, where he told us, I asked him, how many guys do you trust right now, or how many combinations do you guys have right now? And he's like, right now, if I understood him correctly, he said 8. This is available.
And he named 10 guys.
He named 10 guys, but I said combinations along the line. So 8 combinations, and he would like to get to 10 different combinations that he would like to regarding the communication and who he's going to, send out there. So really great email bag this week. Thanks a lot to everybody for sending them in. Remember, if you want to be heard, be a part of this, have your opinion heard. We'll read your opinions as well. Email the show, BlueWhite Tailgate Podcast @gmail.com. Also, hit up the Gross Rational Product email them, hit up Frank Bonanni at the York Daily Record. These guys do mailbags. Send them in. Get your questions answered. All right, let's go to some sound bites from Matt Campbell talking the last couple of weeks. This is the bottom line for me on what Matt Campbell was brought here to do. As Matt Millen said, win a championship. Here's Matt Campbell about players.
I've always felt like the more guys that can have a role on your football team, the healthier your football team is. But who, when the game is on the line and it matters the most, who's in the game? Who's the guy that's in the game? And I think that's what's got to be earned.
That's the bottom line. Like, who's the guy that's going to be in the game in those 3 games, USC, Michigan, and Washington, when the game is on the line, the games that Penn State has struggled to play? Matt Campbell trying to find those guys. And that kind of goes to what we were just talking about, the position battles, depth charts.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that I think that a lot of those things are still to be decided. And I keep going back to wide receiver. The guys that are in the game at the end are the guys that you think you got to get open and you got to catch it. You got to make a play. That I think that kind of thing is really to be determined.
Yeah. I think they're really hoping for a couple of those particular people, individuals in particular, to fill that exact role. Chase Sal, the wide receiver, is one. He's been really good, but can he be consistent in the clutch? One guy I think we would probably agree with that is pretty set for that is our kicker, Ryan Barker. I think he's one of the better. He might be one of the more underrated guys at his position in the country. Doesn't maybe haven't shown out crazy range on his field goals, but are definitely one of the most consistent kickers. And I think he's key for them. We already talked about Ryan Beck, and Tony Rojas would be my last one, because he's supposed to be a superstar at linebacker. And now that he's healthy, he looked good so far moving in preseason camp. So it seems like he's back full go, but he's the guy we've been talking about for 2 years or more. That's supposed to be the next superstar. So here's
he's going to have to be an all conference type guy for sure, if not even higher than that. I think everybody's sort of plugging him in and forget it, but he's got to be more than just plugged in. He's got to be outstanding.
And the big play guy, like I think they brought over linebackers, and their defense under Danton Lynn can be set up where big guys take up the blockers, other linebackers make the tackles. Tony hopefully can be freed up to make big plays. He's a pass rusher, a blitzer. He can be all over the field. That's what they need him to excel. And they don't need Tony Rojas to make 120 tackles. They need him to have 15 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and to make those big
couple
plays.
Interceptions. Yeah. Yes. Big play guy. Yep.
Absolutely. Saturday scrimmage. You guys talked. Taylor Mauser was available on Monday. Obviously, this was a big talking point. The scrimmage was long, 90 plays and Matt 90 plus. And Matt Campbell has talked about the importance of getting over into Beaver Stadium for guys to be in there. I do believe, like some people would say, it doesn't matter and everything. Even when James Franklin would say it, that was one thing I agreed with Franklin when he would always hype up of getting guys in there. It's kind of eerie being in Beaver Stadium when there's nothing going on. It's very eerie being in there. But what did the coaches talk about on Monday when we had that little gathering with Mauser and about how the scrimmage went?
Well, I mean, we talked already about how he mentioned Zay Robinson, the young wide receiver, might have been the MVP of the day, Taylor Mauser said. And then he talked about just him making big plays. I think he mentioned how he had the longest either pass reception touchdown in camp or just the longest touchdown play.
Yeah, I think he said the longest touchdown play of camp so far.
So him, and then he also called out offensive lineman Trevor Burr, who he said could be up for MVP of the entire preseason, which he's a guard. So
Cooper Cousins called him out as well.
Yeah, so that's a little harder, right, for most fans to kind of like, okay, how do you know that? How do you see it? How do you prove that? But that's a good sign to me, because here's a guy that's kind of under the radar position at a position unit that I think everyone agrees could determine how well the entire team does, right? Is the offensive line. So if he's trending well, a guy that we don't even know a whole lot about, at least that's a good sign.
I was watching our buddy Landon Tengwall did a video reacting to practice the other day, and one of the things he said, and I think this is right, that Campbell runs two different kinds of practices. One is up tempo, a lot of hitting, run around, and the other are like super remedial drill corrections, that kind of thing. And I think the latter kind is what we saw on Monday, probably because the coaches watched film of the scrimmage and saw all these things that, hey, we can fine tune this.
Yeah.
So that's what we saw, I think, on Monday. The one really interesting, almost the closest thing we saw to live football was they were doing a 7-on-7. It looked like a 2-minute drill. It was a 2-minute drill. Zay Robinson wasn't there. Sowell wasn't there, but there weren't a whole lot of guys getting open. But one thing that was interesting about that was the running backs, Peoples and Quentin Martin, both were lined up like the X wide receiver, like a split end in a number of these looks. So I think we might see different personnel groups than maybe we're used to on offense. I don't know. Yeah, obviously you could be reading too much into it, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
And we've seen Kobe Howard at practice lined up at running back and coming out like how Derek Williams used to be done.
One thing real quick. Benjamin Brahmer, he is a beast, man.
He's big.
He looks like, I mean, he's a Gronkowski. He's whoever you want to name at the. I'm not saying he's that good, of course, as an NFL Hall of Famer, but I mean, just in terms of athletically and the size and the way he moves around, that dude looks elite.
Before we get to Mike, because you're right, you told me you're writing about tempo, so we want to talk about that, especially since you hit up one of our old podcast guests. And who doesn't love talking about tempo? Ever since Bill O'Brien bought the NASCAR offense,
there you go,
with moxie back to form at Penn State. So, but before we get that, you mentioned running backs. Let's hear Matt Campbell talk about running backs. And for people listening, he's referring to Quentin Martin first when he starts this soundbite.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I think both those guys have had really, really special days the last couple of days. And, Quentin is 215, which I think is, probably between 215 and 220. We'd love him to live there. And I think for him to put that weight on and sustain it in fall camp has proven that that's real weight, and that I think he's got the ability to continue to progress himself forward, which is a win for us. And James Peoples, if you said who was the star of yesterday's practice, I think there's no question James had a really special day. And so, again, I think with those running backs, it's a different scheme. It's a different scheme for James. It's certainly a different scheme for Q. And I think what you feel like is every day those guys are more and more comfortable in what we're asking them to do. But they're physical. Those guys did a really great job running the football, and they can both catch the ball in the backfield, which I think are huge wins for us.
What did people
You kind of heard Audrey Snyder's voice coming in there at the end, and he said that's where Campbell said people stepped up and delivered 2 blocks in pass protection. And I talked to Carson Hansen after the blue-white game, and he said, listen, the entire running back room, I'm taking these guys and we're talking about the scheme to make sure everybody's on the same page in that room. That's what he said post-game, blue-white. So, I mean, Frank, how do you react to what Campbell was saying about the running back room?
Yeah, I think it's really versatile. He loves versatility because he's talked it up since he's gotten there, right? That's why he was telling us that Zion Tracy is one of the best football players he ever coached. But Quentin Martin, I mean, I go back to him again because he came to Penn State. I mean, he was a running back, but he played wide receiver in high school. And he came here arguably with the ability to try out for that position. Okay, so he's skilled in that. And I think they love versatility, but it's real with him, for example. And I think all the running backs apparently can catch. And I think that's a big thing right there. And I think that is going to be more of this offense. That wasn't much of Penn State's offense in the past, throwing to the running backs under James Franklin. And I think maybe that was underutilized in some ways. And I think Quentin Martin could be an early do everything star, especially if he could win one of the, if he can like win one of the top kickoff return spots. You know, I'm interested to see who they're settle in as their main returners, because I think he could be a definite option at kickoff return. And I'm interested to see how much chance Zion Tracy gets as a punt returner. And I think it plays into the versatility and the blocking, right? I mean, because I think Campbell, maybe it was Mauser that called out Quentin's blocking ability as well. He's put on weight and sustained weight. And I think that was an issue with Q when he got to Penn State. He was not physically ready to be a contributor. Like, he admits it. And now he's put on the weight and he's held it and he's got the frame. And I think I keep coming back to him as a guy I really think has a big chance to turn heads early on in the offense.
Okay. Yeah, I like Peoples. And Peoples is he's a strong, tough dude with a low center of gravity. So you can see how he could be a good blocker, even though he's not real big.
I think James Peoples is a guy I could envision in those non-conference games getting a lot of run in the second half and destroying overmatched, tired defenses, like blowing by them. Like, it would not surprise me if James Peoples rips off a few really big, long runs in the second half against Marshall, Temple, and Buffalo.
The Thundering Herd will be no longer thundering by the time James gets his shot out.
You know, I know this is not a great comparison, but I think it's one of those things, like, your memory is different from actual facts. But, like, I think of James Peoples and I instantly see, like, Mike Archie. And it's not like
who?
Like Mike Archie.
Oh, Mike Archie.
And Mike Archie, best quarterback on the 1994 team. Stats don't lie. Sorry. Stats don't lie. Look it up.
Wait. What did you just say? He was what?
The best quarterback on the 94 team. Stats don't lie, Frank.
Wait, he's 1 for 1?
No, he qualifies on, like, quarterback rating, because I think he was 3 for 3 with 2 touchdowns or something like that. It's an absurd stat that he gets a quarterback rating, because every time he threw a halfback pass, it was like a touchdown. So
none of them look particularly pretty, but yeah.
No, they just work. So
no, I think you're right. The stats don't lie. I think they give a perfectly accurate depiction of Mike Archie as a quarterback.
Yeah. But, like, you think, okay, Mike Archie is the second back, the speed, like, kind of like the speed scat back type, and, you know, he's not all that different at the time from Kajana Carter, but, like, Carson Hansen's so much bigger than Peoples, and people think Kajana Carter, number 1 draft pick, he's this big, you know. Kajana Carter was not built like Curtis Enos or Larry Johnson, if my memory serves me correctly. He was far from, like, the Aaron Harris type and guys like that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just one of those things.
Good trivia question. Who led the 94 team in quarterback rating?
Quarterback rating. It's a great trivia question. A great trivia question. One of those fun stats that if you're you know, a dork like me, you kind of remember. Oh boy, Alex Manske. Everybody talked to him at media days. It's revealed that he has open heart surgery. In a recent story. I mean, he didn't want to talk about it at media days. Like, it's like, hey, what happened? He's like, I don't want to get into it and stuff like that. He's just like, I'm here now. With what he's gone through, is it surprising the praise? And you guys were sitting front row at media days, could see Matt Campbell, the passion when he was talking about him. Is it any wonder that there's a connection between these two guys and the way Matt Campbell kind of, like, talks about them? You know, coming from Iowa, going to Iowa State, living that dream that's what he wanted to do, but then transfers because it's better for him. I mean, Matt Campbell was talking about him almost like he was like a son of Matt Campbell, like with the praise he was giving him. Am I right, Frank, at media day?
Yeah, and I think it kind of, now that you start to get more of the picture, I think Matt Campbell was very involved in this from the first moments. And basically telling Alex that we're going to get through this together. when the diagnosis came down, and that we believe that this is going to be positive for you and it's going to be a haul, but we're going to do this. And I just think there's an investment there, on different levels. One, he's your quarterback. He's one of your top recruits you ever had. He's going through an unprecedented, at least in like Penn State football history, unprecedented medical condition where he's coming back from it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of layers there that, and he's so proud of him. I mean, think about the spring too, right? Rocco Beck really wasn't practicing 100%. Alex Manske wasn't even there. I mean, the quarterback room was like, what was it, right? It was a Division III.
Connor Barry from Christopher Newport, baby.
Right. So all of a sudden, you expect to get Rocco Beck back, but then you get Alex Manske cleared, who I think they just really believe in his ability beyond the recruiting rankings and such, right? So all of a sudden he's completely in the picture. He's full go. That makes, you're a coach. That's so huge, right? Now all of a sudden you actually have two quarterbacks that are fully healthy to start the season that you really love. And you didn't know that back in the wintertime.
I think Manske's teammates and the coaches are blown away by how far he's come, how fast. I think that's the one thing that is very, very evident. And, this is a guy who, if he, there's a lot of ifs here, but if he had been healthy, given the situation, he probably could have been Iowa State's starting quarterback this year, right? But he still can, and he's a kid who grew up 100 miles from Ames in Iowa. So, he's probably, they certainly see him as the quarterback of the near future after this year. And also it changes now Peyton Falzone is a tight end. Those two things are related, right? Yeah. So it's pretty big. It's pretty big. And I think the coaches are like grateful and relieved that they have a pretty good quarterback situation. I think compared to most teams, even most Power 4 teams.
Yeah, I'm writing about this. I think it's you could make an argument it's the most intriguing quarterback room in the country because you have the most experienced returning quarterback in the nation, Rocco Beck. You have the number 2 guy that's somehow gone through this unprecedented medical condition who's coming back. And your third guy, he's a Division III All-American, and I don't even know what that means in the Big Ten, right? So it's like, what other quarterback room has like three conditions like that going on, right? I don't. So, and then you have the potential fourth guy he's playing tight end, which we go all the way back to the beginning of Peyton Falzone, and I think there was talk like maybe this is where he could end up anyway, right? I don't think it's a huge surprise that Peyton Falzone is hitting tight end sleds.
And one thing that was very evident on Monday was Taylor Mauser really working with Falzone to get him as a blocker. Technique. Here's where your elbows ought to be. Here's where your feet ought to be. And hitting blocking sleds and doing that. And the other piece of that is he's 215 pounds. He's crazy athletic, and he really looks fast.
He looks really good as a receiver. Like it's natural to him. Now, he can't play tight end in the Big Ten full scale at that weight, and they don't need him to because they got like 4 other guys right now. But he's a tight end of the future if he wants to stay there because he'll put on weight.
All this is like ripple effect of Alex Manske, right?
And you could even go back to, our talks at the end of last season with Ethan Grunkemeyer. One of the reasons, maybe one of the thoughts of he's not staying here too. It's not just Rocco Beck, is you knew they wanted Alex Manske here too. And Ethan Grunkemeyer, how's he going to stay with 2 Iowa State quarterbacks?
I saw people on Twitter, mainly people from outside of Penn State, and they're like, bring in like a high-rated recruit like Falzone. He was a 3-star recruit. He wasn't super high-rated. People are exaggerating. And then you're immediately going to move him to tight end. It says a lot about Matt Campbell because it's, the hater sphere on the social web. Falzone didn't come to Penn State thinking this wasn't a possibility. Like he knew this. He had a complete picture. In fact, like we even talked to him. Was he a wrestler, Frank, by the way, at Nazareth?
A wrestler?
Yeah.
I don't think. But
I thought
he was no, you know what he was? He was a swimmer, I think.
Swimmer. Okay.
I didn't know that. Wow.
He'll be fine. I was gonna say if he was a wrestler, like throw him anywhere. Wrestlers could do anything. So, but I always thought like maybe he would be like a hybrid linebacker safety type.
Oh my goodness.
Eventually at Penn State.
Very creative.
I think we talked about that. Like you remember how Mark Rubin used to walk down into the box a little bit. Mark Rubin, the best athlete on Wall Street, as he won.
Yeah, you know what? They have guys. They have guys to do that. I think
they do.
Yeah,
they do. Now, here's the other thing. Matt Campbell at Media Day, he praised Alex Manske not just as a quarterback, but just as his overall athletic ability, which I don't think should be glossed over. Is that he said he's talented enough he could probably play safety.
Right?
Right.
But
he's also pretty much, we've been told, the best golfer on the team.
Yes.
And my point is only that he can do a lot of things. And I think that maybe gets underplayed when guys, you focus so much on what their specific position is, but so much of this is their athleticism and their ability to do other things, right? Joe always looked at, is this guy a really good basketball player? That says a lot
basketball,
about his football abilities. And I think that just shows you that, Alex only thrown 5 passes in college. Okay. But there's these other qualities about him that, trend toward him being a pretty good quarterback.
I asked 2 guys. I go, who's the best golfer on the team and who's the worst? And they were going and stuff. Alex Manske. I go over to Alex and I go, who's the best golfer on the team? He's like, me. Like, I just had a laugh.
Very short answer.
I just had a laugh.
I got to talk to him about golf. That intrigues me.
See if he wants to play.
He's 6'3", 6'4". He could probably bomb it.
See if we can get to Iron Valley. Play a few rounds.
Iron Valley, absolutely.
Maybe Bent Creek.
Ship.
Yeah.
Oh, we might have to negotiate to get on Bent Creek.
See what we could do. One more soundbite. This is from Sal, and we talk about the character and the culture. I just want to play this soundbite out. It's long, but I just want you to hear what he has to say about coming to Penn State to play defensive tackle.
I came to Penn State to look for a different meaning of life. Coming from California, the West Coast to be exact, a lot of stuff happens because of the West Coast. You got the good and the bad and the ugly, And coming from the previous school I was at, it was all good and gravy, but it wasn't really something that, I felt like was needed for me mentally, physically, and spiritually. When the end of the season had came around last year in December, I was deciding on hanging the cleats up and actually started my career about what I wanted to do in life. Malloy hit me up and, said he got the job at Penn State. I was still bottling between, do I even want to go to play football or should I just start my life right now?
Like that, when I said, why did you come to Penn State? And he starts out with, well, you said, why not? But then it was like,
yeah,
I get what the meaning of life is. And I was like, he's an old guy, 26, and he's thinking like, I'm going to hang the cleats up or,
it sounded like he's talking about the LA lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
And he's not, I thought Keanu Williams had a little bit of that when we had our first meeting with those guys who also came from UCLA. I think he's the guy who kind of said, you know what, maybe I needed to get to a little bit of a different cultural element. I realized I just used cultural, the most overused word in preseason football history.
Yeah. Ciali he's gone through some tough family living situations where he's from. I think, he basically is. And then his first, 3 years at UCLA wiped out basically because of injury and COVID. And, his position coach comes to Penn State and he's convinced him. And I think he looks at Coach Malloy as a father figure. And I think he's a very thoughtful defensive tackle. And he's an older guy, but he's very thoughtful. And I think he could be a great leader for them. And I think, wow, what a personal exploration he's on here, right? And I think that's interesting. I mean, we don't get a chance to go in depth with football players at Penn State like that very often, right, Andrew? And I think great clip. And there's a lot more under the surface with Ciali, and I hope we get a chance to talk to him quite a bit.
he and Armstrong Nodum or Nodim or however you pronounce that were at the same table, at the same little interview table on that day for interviews. So that's two guys with very different but very interesting talking styles and communication styles.
Google has him as 24 years old, but
yeah,
also says played 7 seasons, and I know he's redshirt senior plus, and it's so hard to keep track of stuff now.
Yeah.
This is his 8th season.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know how that translates to 24. I thought that would be 26, but
well, you come into college at 17 sometimes, right?
Yeah, it could be.
I guess you could. Yeah, I guess you could. So,
one interesting thing, I'm not sure I mentioned this before, but the Big Ten Network had this. They said if you count starts, no matter what school you had to start at, Penn State is the most experienced team in the Big Ten and one of the most experienced in the country.
I think Matt Campbell knew this. I think one thing Matt Campbell knew he needed to have was experience, because he's dealing with a roster that's only going to have like 40 guys or 50 returning. Almost none of them were key players who played much. So when he's getting new guys, I think he knew this year especially he needed experience, guys who've been through it, right?
Yep, 100%.
That was so important, and credit to him for, I guess, making it happen, I think. So
I think that's a real theme going into the season.
Yeah, I 100% going. Let's get to the AP poll coming out. What does it mean? It's worth.
What does it mean?
It means nothing except preseason hype. Ohio State 40 votes for number 1, Oregon 14, Georgia at 3, Notre Dame 5. Is it 5 or 6? 6 votes for in first. Texas, then Indiana. I still think it's criminal. Indiana's not in the top 5. Miami gets 1 first place vote. Texas A&M at 8, Ole Miss 9, Oklahoma 10. The Virginia Tech AP writer did not rank Penn State. Penn State comes in at 18. God,
it's almost the same as the coaches poll. I mean, it's the same top 6, I think. I mean, Indiana's 6 in both. Ohio State, Oregon 1 and 2 in both. Penn State, Michigan, USC, they're all right around the same place. And yeah.
1, 2, and 5 are not going to miss the playoffs, and I feel like 2 and 5 are at least going to finish the season ranked this year, unlike last year with Clemson and Penn State. Last year,
I would think so, although I think 5 is Texas, and I'm not sold on Texas.
Yeah, I think
this has a whiff of 2025 Clemson to me.
Oh, God.
They're not going to be that bad. I'm not saying they're going to be that bad. I'm not.
This is the kiss of death. This is Mike's kiss of death. Oh my God, if you're a Texas fan, because I remember him talking Clemson down last year.
Don't love Texas. I think that Indiana is being a little undersold, especially since they got several first place votes. So that must mean that some people are really burying them.
Do you remember where they were ranked in the preseason last year, you guys?
Oh my
God. 17th?
Yes, they were like way down there, right? Because you didn't know who their quarterback was going to be, for one, and you didn't think they could possibly recapture the magic. Okay, well, to me, it's a lot of who's their new quarterback. How is he going to be? How do we know?
And 9 SEC teams in the top 25, 0 first place votes.
Kind of wild. That is kind of wild. But
I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just interesting.
I'm going through like who I think is going to be in the college football playoff. And like it's so hard to predict because of these 9-game conference schedules. And then you're basically looking at like who's going to be your best loss instead of like who have you actually beat with a lot of these things. And like I was just going through my playoff stuff the other day, and I'm like, okay, ACC champ Miami. I kind of want to say SMU could possibly pull an upset there. Big Ten champ. I really do think this is the year for Oregon to win the Big Ten. Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State, 10-2. I think they get one of the 3 big games.
Wow.
Big 12. I have BYU winning. I've SEC, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, A&M are my top 4. And then group of 5, I have Boise State or UNLV coming out and going into I think Boise State's the safe pick. I really do want to pick UNLV, but I'm not quite sure yet as I'm like working my way through this. And there's not one team in that SEC that I could say, I'm positive that they're the best team in the country. I could talk myself into saying I'm positive Oregon's the best team in the country. I could talk myself into saying Ohio State's going to be the best team in the country. I could talk myself into Notre Dame being the best team in the country and Indiana. I can't talk myself into anyone from the SEC or Miami being the best team in the country.
Oh, you sound like you're kind of reflecting what the voters did in this poll. And here's the weird thing, and I was thinking about this when you were talking about that, is again, I keep beating this dead horse, but the big disparity in strength of schedule within a conference where you could have a 3-loss team from the Big Ten make it, and maybe even a 1 or 2-loss team from the Big Ten not make it. You could have 2 teams in the Big Ten championship game, neither of whom are in the playoff. That absolutely happened in the ACC last year.
Sure.
Miami went to the national championship game. Duke and Virginia played for the ACC championship.
Yeah. Well, 18 teams in a league, it's stuff that you can't predict. You wouldn't have thought of that we're going through and experiencing. How is there a case in Penn State's history where they didn't play any of the 3 top teams in the league?
Yeah.
There's no way that's happened since they joined the Big Ten. So
I'd love to,
because this is the first year.
I'd love to know how they do this.
This is the first year since 1993 that they haven't played Ohio State. This is the first time ever. This is the only team they played Ohio State every single year since joining the Big Ten. It's the only team Penn State's played every single year. And now suddenly that's off the table. So, I mean.
And Penn State should have fought for that. In this realignment, we remember, was it out of Big Ten Media Days like 3 years ago? They said, no, we're not going to fight for it.
You'd fight for it?
Would I?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What?
You want to be the big dog on the street? Punch the bully in the mouth.
Yeah, but to me, it's like if you're going to be that good, if Penn State's going to be that good, they're going to get tested. They're going to go. If you're that good, if you're Penn State, you're going to go to the Big Ten championship game and play one of those teams. Probably. If you're that good, you're going to go to the playoffs.
Well, probably, but not necessarily.
But knock them out. For me, it's knock them out.
But you will get that chance. To me, in this day and age, you will.
Well, I hope you're right, Trent. I'm a little bit less confident about that. But let me just say this again about these. Penn State doesn't play any of the top 3 teams in the league. Northwestern does, all 3 of them. Nebraska does, all 3 of them. What?
That's cool.
And USC does too.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you have 18 teams.
Yep.
And I'm saying if Penn State goes 11-1, how do they're going to the Big Ten championship game? If they're 11-1 or undefeated, right? So they're going to play somebody big. They're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to play somebody. They're going to either prove themselves or fall on their face in those moments, but they're going to get those moments if they run the table as well as they can with this schedule or not. They're going to, if they do it.
They could also play USC a second time because of the 18th conference. And I'm sure if you work the matrix out, Ohio State somehow loses to Texas and then beats 2 teams in the Big Ten and then loses a second game to create like a 3-way tie, and they end up being a lower ranked team. And through tiebreakers, I'm sure there's some crazy way where Penn State could end up playing one of these teams if they went 11-1. Now,
hey, you could have 5 teams tied for first place at 7-2. Right?
Yeah,
that could easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not likely, but it could easily happen.
And I don't think Penn State gets in the playoff at 10-2. I don't.
They might not.
It might not.
I would say more likely yes than no, because I think the 3 power teams on their schedule, I think, are going to be pretty good. I think Washington has a chance.
But they got to beat 1 or 2 of those, right?
Yeah.
They can't beat everybody else and lose to the only respected teams in there.
Yeah, then they're not going to do. That's right.
Exactly. So if one of them is bad and that's who Penn State ends up beating, that's not going to get them in because Alabama's grace is done. And as we saw with Notre Dame last year, it's not all about brands, even though Alabama may have snuck in. And I was big on Alabama not getting in. They should not have been in. Well,
you had 2 monster brands competing for the spot. I think what was happening in the room with the committee. A lot of people said it was Miami against Notre Dame, but I think it was really Notre Dame or
Alabama. That's what I thought, and I thought Notre Dame should have been in. I will rely on that cross.
Agreed.
And that's regardless of Alabama winning against Oklahoma and then getting beat.
Alabama had good wins, but they you could just see it. You could see it. Eye test.
But it only matters for certain teams apparently. But I just think with Penn State's schedule, it's very similar to like Notre Dame, where you avoid those top teams. Notre Dame lost to the two best teams on their schedule. If Penn State loses the two of the three best teams on their schedule, that's going to be used against them because the non-conference schedule is so bad.
It won't be in early September like Notre Dame's losses were.
Correct. So I think Penn State needs to go 11-1 to get in the playoff. That's just my feeling.
Entirely possible.
So anything else you guys want to talk about? Frank, I haven't seen you in a while. How was vacation? Let's get to that.
Nothing. It was good to be away from the grind, but nothing exciting actually to report. But that's okay. No more days off between now and the bye week in October, so we're full go, ready.
Now, just admit, you missed me texting you every day asking what topics we're going to cover and when is everybody's available. You missed that, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's mentioned that many times.
Oh, yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Email the show, BlueWhite@gmail.com. Check your local listings. Up in State College for TV, for radio. Got things in the works. We're looking to be on WHVL TV, the My Network affiliate up in State College. So that's a big one as well. So, email the show, BlueWhiteTailgate@podcast.com. Thanks for all the followers picking it up, and check out our Instagram page as well. Remember, party responsibly, State College. Don't do anything that would get you in trouble. I'm going to take a sip of my Coke here. Don't do anything.
Extremely subtle.
I did have a blow reference from the movie biopic George Jung. Do you guys remember that? Johnny Depp, Penelope Cruz.
No.
Okay. I meant to say that earlier in the show. Mark Wogerich is going to be upset. That was a pop.
I had a blow reference.
I left out. Great movie, great biopic. I think 2001 it came out. So, all right. Turn on some Clapton, OT Genesis. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.